Welcome to Pseudocode. Today, we are going to talk about the basic component of system design, data, and data flow. In this video, we are going to talk about the data, how it can be represented, how it flows inside the system and its exchange between other components, and the factors that you have to consider about the data when you are building a system. In case you don't know me, my name is Yogita Sharma and I'm a software engineer, and you can get to know more about me from the links down below. Let's go back to the example of buildings. Think about what is the core entity in those buildings? People. If there are no people in the hotels or hospitals or theaters, then what good are those buildings? Obviously, there could be some buildings like storage and warehouses where people are not required, but we are focusing on the type of buildings which are centric to people. So people get into the building, people stay in the building, people get out of the building. That means people stay at the core of the buildings. Similarly, in computing systems, data gets entered into the system, data gets manipulated or computed in the system and then served again back to the user. People can actually create the data and then access it. People can actually just access the data and not create it, or they can do both. In like in example of YouTube, they can create the data and access the data. So data stays at the core of system design. Let's understand how data is represented at different layers in different formats. So for business layer or as a user, you interact with data in the format of text, videos, images, notes, etc. When the data travels to the application layer, it is transformed in a different format like JSON, XML, etc. When the data gets stored in data stores or databases, it gets stored in different data structures which store the data effectively and ensure that the retrieval and the storage is efficient. And the examples can be tables, indexes, list, trees, depending on which DB technology you're using. Then at the network layer, data gets transferred from one machine to another over the network in the form of packets. And finally, at the hardware level, it's just zeros and ones. So this is the journey of representation of data on different layers. Why this is important is because when you are going to design systems, you are going to have to deal with at least these three layers. You have to understand what are the different formats and what are the different properties of data at all these layers, and you have to design the system accordingly so that the exchange and flow of this data can become efficient and you can store the data in a secure manner and in an effective manner. Once you understand these formats and the ways through which data is exchanged between different components and different layers, it becomes very easy for you to visualize the whole data flow. And there is a famous saying in the industry that always think about data flow. Once you understand the kind of data you're dealing with, the format that you have to store and operate on that data upon, and how it is going to flow into your application, your journey of designing system is halfway done. So now let's understand what are the different data stores and the flows through which this data flows inside the system. So some examples of data stores are databases, queues, caches, indexes. You might think that why queues, caches, and indexes are listed here, because think about this. What does queue have? It has data in some format. What does cache have? It also has data which is easily retrievable rather than making a query to database. Similarly, for indexes, data is stored in such a manner that it could be searched quickly. Given these stores, now how data flows among these data stores and also from application. So think about the data travel from application to database, from database to cache, from cache to application, from application to queue and then to database, and so on and so forth. So then comes the methods through which that data will flow. So APIs, messages, events are some mechanisms which allow this data in different stores and the application to flow and get exchanged between these components. Again, why this is important is because you need to understand when you have to store certain data in databases, when you need queues, when you need caches, which method you will use so that the data flow becomes effective. Will you use APIs or will you use messages or would you use events? All these decisions are taken depending on, again, the kind of data that you're storing and the kind of requirement that system has. Once you understand this data flow mechanisms, it becomes easy for you to fit the requirements and design systems which fulfills the requirement effectively. Now let's understand where does data come from or how the data is generated. Although we just discussed that users actually create the data or put input the data inside the system, but it's just not users. So obviously the first part is users, that users will interact with the system and will create more data. For example, if it's a notes app or if it's a calendar app, user is consistently entering the data into the system. Or even if it's an e-commerce website, user is actually putting in the requirements or what they want to buy and creating the data inside the system. Then there is internal data. When you have to store data about data, or when you have to store the logs of the application which are running actually to serve the system, that is a different category of data which can be understood as the internal data, which systems populate on their own. Similarly, there are insights. When users actually interact with the system and upload some kind of data or retrieve some kind of data, some insights are generated. For example, if the user is buying something from an e-commerce website, an invoice will be generated for that user. Similarly, if the user is interacting with a streaming system like YouTube or Netflix, etc., there will be a history of what content they have watched. There will be profile history. There will be their payment details, the subscription details, and so on and so forth. So there can be different categories of data, but majorly users interact with data. The system itself populates a lot of data about the data which it already has, and also some data is created as part of insights or from the user's data itself. Now let's discuss about why we are talking so much about data, why talking about data and data flow is so important. Because you need to understand the factors that have to be considered about data before considering a system design. Okay, now let's see. Type of data. Data could be, as we discussed, text, images, videos. A system which deals with videos and computing on those videos will be different from a system that deals with only text type of data. So, knowing the type of data that you're going to operate on is important because it will lead to decisions like which database you're going to use for storing videos versus which database you're going to use to store some text configurations. Okay, then next is volume. You have to consider the volume of data. A system which supports storage of terabytes of data would be completely different from a system which supports storage of some GBs of data. Then comes the consumption and retrieval of data. There could be some systems which are populating a lot of data, like systems which are writing a lot of data and also consuming the same amount of data. Similarly, there could be systems which are writing a lot of data, like event streaming systems, but the consumption is not that high. There could be systems which are not writing that much data. The system internally is populating a lot of information, but the retrieval is high. Again, and there could be both. So it boils down to the reads and writes to your system. Again, volume and reads and writes. These factors decide which kind of data store you will choose, which kind of storage strategy you will choose, and what will your system look like for handling with such amount of data. And then obviously there is security. There could be systems which are like transactional systems like banking, etc., where the security of data is of utmost important. It is okay if you're not able to serve a request if a user cannot log in for say a few minutes, but it is not okay that the data for that user gets leaked or gets compromised. So security plays an important role in such kind of systems. So depending on these factors, you will be able to make informed decision on what kind of technology you have to use in order to build a system that supports a certain volume and certain requirement for data. Now let's talk about some examples of different systems which have different data and data flow requirements. For example, an authorization system. The volume of data that an authorization system might not be that high because it just have to store some user details and credential details, etc. But the level of security needed in an authorization system is comparatively higher because you need to make sure that the user credentials are safe. Whoever is requesting the access should not be given any wrong access to the resources that are not meant for that particular user. So security and privacy are of high importance here rather than the data volume. Data storage should be secure even though the data volume is not high. In case of streaming systems, the data volume is high, and also the data retrieval speed, the number of requests that are coming to the system in order to retrieve the data when people are watching a lot of videos, that has to be high. So here the data volume is also high and the data retrieval is also high. So streaming systems have to handle with both of those factors. Then there are transactional systems. Transaction systems like banking systems or e-commerce websites where you're placing an orders or interacting with a certain transaction. In those cases, the journey of the transaction, that the transaction should not fail, it should not be done twice, and the money in the bank should be intact. All those factors are really important in case of transactional systems. For example, if you have ordered for a headphones from Amazon, let's say, and if the data is compromised, or if there is something wrong with the processing of the data, you might end up getting a wrong order, or you might not even get your order. So the journey of the data, the how the data flows in a transactional system is important. Then there are heavy compute systems. So with the advance of machine learning and AI, for example, there are systems which are dealing with tons and tons of data, which is recorded by cameras, and they have to process over videos, and they have to use GPUs in order to mine over the data and run sophisticated algorithms on that. So for that system, the requirements of databases and the data storage are different because nobody is retrieving the data, but a lot of data is being uploaded and being computed on. So these are just some examples which all deal with different volume and different requirements of the data. And knowing the factors that we have discussed previously, knowing different data stores can actually help you in designing and making decisions for such kind of system. We discussed data flow, but again, the next part is how do you store this data? How do you ensure that you are able to effectively operate on this data, retrieve it, and store it? So in the next video, we are going to talk about databases, different type of databases, the use cases for different types of databases with some real world examples. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions with respect to today's videos. Also, let me know what different data and data formats that you have worked with. Till then, take care. See you in the next video.